You're listening to the Money Monopolizers Podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here. We are back with episode 10 of the Money Monopolizers Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm really excited. I know we've been gone for the past couple of weeks, but I'm excited to get back into this, into doing podcasts and stuff, especially with our episode coming up this week. We're talking about real estate. So, guess it's our bread and butter. That's what we've been doing. That's how we make our money with investing. So, I'm really excited for this episode. How about you?
Doing good, bro. Yeah, we was on a little hiatus for the last 2 weeks. We had a little vacation, so first week it was 2 weeks ago. It was 4th of July, and then last week it was like, had other stuff to do that was a little more pressing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we back now, and we got a good episode for y'all today. So what we're gonna be doing actually is getting into real estate now a little bit more, and we're gonna. Essentially, what we're about to start doing is a real estate series and how to get started investing in real estate. So this is going to be some number of parts of series. I honestly can't tell you right now. So, but today we're talking about part one. But I mean, that being said, we are having our very first guest on the podcast coming up very soon. We have someone that's definitely, I think will be an inspiration to a lot of people as our first guest on the show. So we should be having that come out. I would anticipate sometime in August. So definitely be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a great episode. I'm not going to give out too much, but yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to miss, especially if you're a college student. You don't want to miss out on what this person has to say and some of the tips and the advice that she's going to be giving. So in the meantime, like I said, we're going to be doing this getting started in real estate investing series, and the plan is to have guests on the show throughout, indefinitely, really. But for now, we'll be doing this real estate series. And today, like I said, it's how to get started investing in real estate, part 1. So let's get into it. The first thing about all this, before I even get into any of the weeds about all this, before we start talking about properties, before we start talking about anything that's really technical, the first thing that you have to know about really anything that you want to, be successful at in life and anything you want to start doing, you have to, number one, first invest in yourself, right? You have to apply that drive and that ambition first to yourself before you try to apply it to something else, right? Because at the end of the day, you are the most valuable asset no matter what you're doing. Your mind is the most valuable asset that you have no matter what it is you're doing, no matter what type of investing you're trying to do, no matter what goal you're trying to undertake. You yourself are the most valuable asset you have. So you have to develop that first, right? It goes for anything in life. So, I mean, it's the same thing just for this. So, and the thing about, investing in yourself, we talked about this a lot in episode 1, I think. We started talking about, it was the intro and all that, right? Marlon, it was episode 1 when we were talking about investing in yourself.
Yeah, I know. Episode 1 is when we did like an introduction, and then 2, I think, was like the mindset thing. So I think one of those 2 we talked about a little bit more in depth. Yeah, that's probably a little bit of both. Yeah, but 1 and 2 definitely we talked about it a little bit more in depth. But we're gonna touch on it here again. If you do want to go listen to 1 and 2, we did. Like I said, we talked about it more in depth and we went into the more nitty gritty about it. But we're gonna touch on it here because it's essential to invest in yourself first before you start investing in anything else. Real estate, stocks, whatever. You have to invest in yourself. And when I say invest in yourself, what I primarily mean is investing in your knowledge. That's the number one thing, right? Because the thing about, doing this kind of stuff that's like, I would say sort of taboo, investing and forming your own business and all this kind of stuff. It's taboo. It's not something that's normal. It's not the norm to do this kind of stuff.
And so one thing to know about that is you have to understand that the conventional system of education wasn't meant to teach you this kind of stuff. It wasn't meant to tell you about this kind of stuff, right? It was never meant to make you rich. It was only meant to continue to put you into the rat race and to continue to produce rat racers and people that are going to be, employees, right, Marlon?
Right. So, and understand when he's saying the system, he's referring to like the school system, like this, what society is training you to become. So understand that society is putting you in a position to be in separate classes. There's poor, middle class, and then there's the wealthy. And for most of like the school systems, they're training you on how to be a middle class worker. They're not training you how to be the business owner or the investor. They're training you how to work for them. So if you don't, if you're not privy to this information, if you don't have the parents that are the business owners and the investors, you never get to learn it. But people are always saying, "Oh, your parents are supposed to teach you that type of stuff." But in reality, they went through the same school system that you are going through currently. So who taught them how to be a business owner or an investor? Nobody taught them, so they can't teach you what they don't know. And so that's where separation comes into play. So now only the wealthy parents can teach their kids how to become wealthy. And then all of a sudden you see the classic quote, the rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. So the gap is becoming wider and wider as these generations go on, because we're continuously not being told how to make this money or how to build wealth. And the wealthy are continuously telling their kids how to. And with inflation, it's just it's magnifying it even more. So that's why we're behind the eight ball when it comes to our education system. And that's why it's so important for us, the ones who are not born into those wealthy families, to be able to seek that knowledge that's now actually accessible. Before, we didn't have technology or anything that could allow us to get this type of information on how to becoming a business owner or an investor. But now, since it's out there, there's no excuse for us now at this point.
Yeah. And those people, like the people that are wealthy now, and the people that have built successful businesses and become successful professional investors, they learned the information. They sought the information out on their own first. They didn't rely on the school system to teach them this kind of stuff. You can't rely on the school system to teach you this. It's not their job, frankly. You're not supposed to. I mean, you could argue that they should, but I mean, they haven't.
Right.
So why would they now?
So since they haven't, that don't mean that you can't learn it. That means now it's on you to actually go seek it now.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to understand that you have to take the initiative to be the one to go seek out this information. And you have to take, have to have that drive and ambition to want to know this information and know that the only way you're going to get it is if you go and seek it. It's all out there for all of us, but we just have to, go and seek it. And the first thing about doing that is self-educating yourself. Self-education is extremely, extremely important because, like I said, I mean, with this stuff, there's no really formal education you can get for this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can go and get coaching and mentorship and all that kind of stuff, but we're going to touch on that in a little bit here. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one that's going to, give yourself the bulk of that information primarily. You have to be the one to want to know that information. And so you have to be studying the right sources. So what are the right sources that you should be studying? Well, we're talking about real estate on this show because that's what we do. So we're going to talk about some sources that we have studied and what has, given us a great foundational knowledge of real estate and has helped us in this realm. The biggest thing I can tell you right off the bat that has helped us has been something called Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets, I gotta plug Bigger Pockets. If we're talking about real estate, I gotta plug Bigger Pockets. I wouldn't be doing justice the topic of self-education in real estate investing if I didn't plug Bigger Pockets. This is like I call it the Ivy League of real estate investing education. Yeah, because this is how I look at it. I'm just kind of prefacing everything I'm gonna say about Bigger Pockets with my view on it. I look at Bigger Pockets let me explain what Bigger Pockets is first, because people probably like, what are you talking about? Bigger Pockets gotta be. Yeah. Bigger Pockets, smaller pockets. Bigger Pockets is essentially just a real estate social networking site that has taken the lead as like the number one informational tool for all real estate investors. If you search any this is how I found it myself. If you search any real estate related question on Google, one of the first results is going to be something from Bigger Pockets. So that's essentially like a real estate, like I said, a social networking site, but they have a bunch of stuff on there. They have forums, they have podcasts, they have articles, they have a bunch of resources like calculate, analyze deals. They have anything that you need. They have a marketplace. They have people selling deals on there. Anything you need that's related to real estate investing is on that website. Any information you can think of, it's on that website. Because the thing is, there's millions of people that use it, and all of them connect on there and network on there. So if you think there's a question that you have, I guarantee it's already been answered on that website. So you can go in there and search any question you have about real estate investing, and the answer is going to be in the forum somewhere. Someone has answered it. So that's essentially what it is. But what I was saying earlier was I look at Bigger Pockets like this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it because we're plugging them too much. But I look at them like this. If I see someone has knowledge, if I find someone on Bigger Pockets and I connect with them, I immediately have like a higher respect and trust of them because I know they have that Bigger Pockets education. I call it an Ivy League education because I know it's that good of education because I did it myself and I went through it. And the best thing about it is it's free. The next thing though that you definitely gotta, seek out and study is through books. Some people probably don't like reading. Most people I know our age don't like reading. But look, books are like, the thing about books is they essentially just allow you to get into the author's head, right? And they allow you to, you're seeing things from their perspective. So now whatever years of experience they have, you're essentially gaining that. You're learning from their experiences. That's what books allow you to do. And that's why books are so amazing. So it's not much I can really say on them. It's either, look, you're going to do it or you won't. But that's like probably the number one way to gain knowledge in real estate investing. There's so many good books out there that you can pick up and start reading. Definitely if you go to any of the Bigger Pockets books, they also have publishing and they put out a lot of books over there. So definitely check out any of those. Marlon, you want to mention a few of them?
Man, you keep on talking about Bigger Pockets, man.
Or not even Bigger Pockets, just any of the books.
I'm playing with you. But no, I do want to comment on both of those. Like Bigger Pockets, I do want to say, so he said it's free. That's the biggest thing about it. You will have people that charge like thousands of dollars for this information, and everything that they give out is free as far as the information goes. That's the best part about them. That's why we rank them so highly, because they're giving out, and it's good information too. So understand that it's not like they just throwing out random stuff. This is how we were able to build our knowledge base in real estate specifically to where it is today. But as far as the books are concerned, understand, I don't know if y'all know Marlon Walls from back in 8th grade through last year. That dude ain't read one book since he left 8th grade. But now, after you read something that's actually a self-help that's actually teaching you how to get to where you want to get to, I ended up reading over 15 books in just the last year alone. And most of them were real estate related. So I have a lot of good ones I can reference as far as if you want to get into real estate.
Yeah, so books, Bigger Pockets books. Another thing is podcasts. There's so many real estate podcasts out there. I'm not gonna talk about Bigger Pockets, but that's a good podcast if you want to check it out. Definitely go check out their podcast. And the thing about podcasts, it's like it's allowing you to associate yourself with people in those positions that you want to be. It's like you're getting like a cup of coffee with those people almost when you're listening to those podcasts with them. So that's another great thing. Another great tool that I use for everything is YouTube. It's like we talked about it last episode. This is the information age. Everything that you need to know, seriously, anything that you need to know is on YouTube probably. Like anything you need to know. I know last summer whenever I started, when I got my first property and I was going to do a lot of the work myself, I learned how to do pretty much everything I did off of YouTube. I learned how to install the floors. I learned how to, refinish and paint cabinets. I learned how to install tile in the in the bathrooms. I learned how to do so much things. I joke around and say that I became a YouTube certified contractor last summer just because I learned how to do everything off of YouTube. And that's not just for that kind of stuff. I mean, even learning so many different people on YouTube that are just giving out free information. It's crazy. Like this day and age, there's too much information out there that's just free for free. So to not take advantage of it is ridiculous to me. So anyone that says like they don't know where to start or they don't know what they should, do first to learn, you're not trying hard enough because there's too much stuff out there for free. Literally just go to Google and type in what you need to know and you're going to start somewhere. So that's all I got to say about that, though.
I love that you just said, talk about the cup of coffee, because I can't tell you the number of people that come up to, I'm sure me and you, that says, hey man, can I just like sit down with you? I want to pick your brain for about like an hour or something. But there's so much information, and it's not saying that we wouldn't want to do that. Like we do want to be giving back to people, like telling them how to invest in real estate or how to build a successful business. But just imagine if you have one person come up to you every day and say, hey, I want to pick your brain. You're going to spend more time talking to people individually about how to do this instead of them listening to this podcast. They basically just come up to you and saying, hey, man, I like what you're doing, and I just want you to teach me personally because I don't want to go listen to your podcast. That's too much work. Yeah. That's kind of what you're hearing on that. So it's not saying that we don't want to sit here and talk about it, but because I can see it where it's going to go already. Like the more credibility we have, I'm sure, the more people that's going to want to do that. But that's why we just keep on trying to plug all this information because it's out there. It's all about you wanting to go seek it. Like what we're telling you is no different than what they've told us. It's just about wanting to seek that information. That's the biggest thing about this generation versus previous ones. Because before this generation, they didn't have the internet that they could just go find this information on podcasts or on YouTube and stuff like that. So they had to find it. Either they had to go find it in books or go, I don't know. Like that's why they just didn't know. Like if you weren't privy to the information from your last name, like what you were born into, you didn't get that information. Now we don't have that same excuse. So like for instance, for me last year, I was able to listen to 200 different podcasts. Like I'm talking about episodes, not just like different people on a podcast, but like episodes. Over 200 episodes of podcasts, probably 15 books, like I said, real estate related. And I went to like meetups and stuff, just a whole bunch of different ways I was able to learn about real estate, not just telling somebody, hey, I want to pick your brain and you just tell me everything you know. It's just about seek that knowledge, man.
I'm going to say this too. I'm glad you brought that up. Don't ever go to anyone to ask them to pick their brain. Don't do that. Like they don't look, because the thing is, I don't even mean to sound like any type of way, but people's time is valuable whenever they're doing this stuff. This stuff is really time intensive and their time is really valuable. So don't, I've heard people say like they'd rather give someone $100 than to sit there and let them pick their brain, just because my time is worth more than that $100 that don't take for you to, pick my brain. So
honestly, you can look at it as opportunity cost, because you could see like, what am I giving up to spend this hour teaching somebody? I am very passionate about teaching people, but by teaching one person instead of like using an avenue like a podcast like we're doing here, or like I had like a seminar or a presentation where I can teach multiple people. Now I'm spending a lot of time on one person, and the saddest thing is most people are not going to take your advice and actually go do it. Yeah. That's one thing you see a lot too. So I spent an hour of my time where I could have been probably building my business or working on this podcast or something like that can benefit a lot of people, to benefit one person who might not even go take action on what I told them. So yeah, think about it from another perspective.
Yep, definitely. I mean, that's YouTube. Definitely utilize that and utilize that to your advantage. Another thing that I would recommend, this is more of I would say later on, after you have a good, knowledge base, is networking events. Going to any sort of, real estate investing networking events. There's meetups all over your town. I guarantee you that. There's probably a meetup happening sometime this week. You can go download the meetup app and search, or you can just go to Google and type in real estate networking events. And I can guarantee you're going to see plenty of events you can go to. those are the people that you want to be associating with and networking with. Even if you don't have any deals or any experience, I can guarantee you there's people there just like you that are doing the same thing. So it's just a matter of getting out there and educating yourself with them. Because, well, and the reason I say it's like something you should probably look at later on is because I think you should definitely develop your self-education first so that you can, speak the lingo and, talk the talk before you actually, go in there and try to talk to those people, just because, they don't know your level of experience. So you could be talking to someone that's done a bunch of deals and, they could be talking to saying something and it's just going over your head because you don't know what they're saying. So definitely develop your self-education first and then, seek that out. But networking is a great way to, gain knowledge and learn this stuff too. So one of the one thing I always hear too is, people are talking about like coaching events and seminars and that kind of stuff. Because I know I hate the word seminar. Like, I hate that word seminar. To me, it has a terrible connotation attached to it. I know there's good seminars that are out there. Like, for example, on the Breakfast Club, DJ Envy, he does a real estate seminar and he does one all the time. That's a good one, but there's bad ones out there too. And you got to be able to, spot the difference between good ones and bad ones, because there's bad ones out there that are out there scamming people. And if you are not careful, they will get you like they got me. So I want y'all to learn from my experience. I'm gonna tell y'all how these things work though. So the thing about these, I call them guru seminars. So the thing about these is they're essentially like almost like multi-level marketing schemes or pyramid schemes, almost. Not really in that same sense, but they're kind of like there's multiple levels of them. So the way they work is, I don't know if y'all ever like were on, drive-in or something, or, watching TV, or you see something on the internet about an ad, or you hear an ad that's talking about, hey, do you want to real estate? Come to our 2-hour free class we're having in San Antonio. Because I know they do one in San Antonio and they do it in Houston too with Than Merrill. Watch out for him. He's scamming people. He'll do like, he'll say like, we're looking for a handful of real estate investors in the San Antonio that want to learn how to make money flipping houses. And what they do is they'll tell you like, oh, come to our free 2-hour class, whatever. It's like on a Saturday or something. And maybe let's say 500 people show up to it. So at this free class, what essentially is happening is the guru is creating hype around it. So they're creating hype around the real estate by showing off their money and their portfolio and the deals that they're done. They're essentially just trying to get you emotionally attached to the dream of real estate. I remember when I went to it, there's people in there taking notes and stuff, and I was in there doing the same thing. But at the end of the day, like, you look at it, it's like, bro, what is this? I ain't even getting nothing like that's tangible. So they're just in there trying to play off of that dream and that hype. So what they'll do though at the end of that class is they'll say, anyone that thinks this is good for them, we're having a 2 or 3 day boot camp. Come out to this boot camp and we'll give you more information that you can go and that's going to help you with real estate and help you become a successful investor and help you achieve the things that we've just outlined here. And they'll show you all the, their portfolio and all the deals they're done and stuff like that. And the class that they'll get you to sign up for is like maybe $200 or $200, maybe $100 or $200. Nothing crazy. So that happened to me whenever I was there, and the same thing happened. I'm telling you exactly how it goes. The guy said, "Why don't you go sign up?" And I was there with one of my homies, and we was like, "Hey, let's just go." I was like, "Let's just go half on it." Like,
they got you.
So I was like, "Bro, let's just go half on it." And he was like, "Yeah." So we just went half. It was like $200, and we each spent $100. And the thing was like in a month, the 2-day or 3-day weekend boot camp. It was like 9 hours for 3 days, for over the weekend. So the time the boot camp comes around, and what they do is they'll get maybe 200 people. Out of those 500 that came, they'll get maybe 200 people to show up. What they're doing now at the boot camp is they might give you some strategies. They'll tell you like the only way to invest in real estate is by the way they're doing it. They might give you some helpful information. I'm not gonna lie, I gained some helpful information in there, stuff that I think is actually still kind of helpful. But Was it worth $200? No, it wasn't worth that. Definitely, I mean, considering I can get it for free on the internet. So, but the biggest thing that happens at these things is they'll like try to teach you negotiation tips sometimes too. And one thing they'll do is they'll use like they'll say, hey, as a test of the stuff we just taught you, why don't you call your credit card company and try to get a credit card limit increase? And essentially what the goal is, they're trying to get to sign up for the next level of the class, which is usually $20,000 to $50,000 coaching, mentorship kind of thing. It's ridiculous, but that's seriously true. I remember when I was there, the dude, after I was at boot camp one, the dude was like, at the beginning of class, he was like, how many of y'all have actually done a deal? Like one hand went up. So this is one old lady, her hand went up. And I was like, dang, I wonder why she even here. But anyways, and then later in the class when he was talking about the $20,000 thing, he was like, yeah, so you can go to the back, call your credit card company, go to the back and sign up for this $20,000 course. It's only the price of a car. And I'll never forget this. Everybody was like just standing there kind of like looking around. And the one old lady out of the 200 people that raised her hand got up and she walked out. I was like, dang. That's when I got up and I walked out too. I followed right behind her. I was like, I'm going to just take this L and say I lost my $100 because this is ridiculous, bro. So just understand that stuff is like, they probably have good information that they'll give you. Like, seriously, I have no doubt that the information they'll give you is good and useful, but it's not worth $20,000. And you got to understand, it's like, it's a scam, bro. What they're doing is like they only need a few of these people to come and, invest so they get $500 at the free one, right? They don't make any money off of that. And then at the boot camp, they get 200 people to spend $200. So they made a good amount of money on that, or just off of that. And then at this next one, they only need, in order to make that same amount of money, they only need maybe 5 of those 200 people to go sign up for the $20,000 class. And what's going to happen? They're going to get that 5. I guarantee you they're getting that 5 every time. So, you just got to be aware of that. Marlon, you got anything you want to add on there?
I love that story, man. I always laugh when I hear that. But yeah, so understand that these people are not even investors no more. This is their business is in sales. Their whole job is just to sell you a dream. And what they're doing is they're targeting these what they call newbies. They're targeting people who know nothing, and they're looking for that one-on-one conversation. They want people. Yeah. They try to simulate a classroom environment because that's what they know. That's how people like to learn. So they take you into a seminar. That's what we call them, guru seminars, where they just keep telling you all this information that sounds really good because you know nothing. So everything sounds good to you when you know nothing at all. So they might tell you a couple good tips, like Alex said, about the credit increase. They increase the credit limit increase. Sorry, on your credit card. They want you to increase your credit limit so you can go drop all that money on that $20,000 on their big seminar on their.
I don't even think that's a good tip.
Like they just tell you how to do something to benefit them in the end because. Their whole thing is not to get you to be an investor, because if they wanted you to invest, they wouldn't charge you $20,000 that you could spend as a down payment on a deal. Why would you drop $20,000 on them to teach you something that you can learn for free on the internet? There's podcasts, there's books, there's webinars, there's meetups. There's too much stuff you can do to drop $20,000 on them to teach you something. Shoot, we can teach you more than they can teach you everything that they're going to teach you for free right here. It's that funnel thing that Al was talking about. They have 500 people at the free one, 200 people at the boot camp, and if I get 5 people to sign up for a $20,000 boot, whatever, this one-on-one training, I made $100,000 off of you, or off of these 5 people. Shoot, that's 6 figures. That's more than people make in a year, man. Yeah. Off of 5 people that just been sold a dream, and now they're probably in a worse situation than when they first started.
Yep. And because I told you, all right, they got me. They got me on the boot camp. They got me on the $100 one. They didn't get me on the 20 stacks. They didn't get me from that. But yeah, just like he said, you will learn. I can't even talk. In the next 10 episodes, however many episodes we do of this, we'll teach you more than they'll teach you out of those classes. I can guarantee you that. And we're going to do it for free. So Only thing I ask is you go rate it.
That's still free.
Exactly.
We often think of wealth in terms of how much money we make or have in bank accounts. Businesses, real estate, stocks, and other commodities are also ways we measure our wealth. But have you ever considered what happens if you lost all these assets? Think of what happens when you lose your job, your business, or other investment vehicles you may have. How do you start again? Can you easily find your feet? What happens next? As you plan, create, or build wealth, these are important questions to ask yourself. If you struggle to find answers to these questions, it's time to start investing in your most important financial asset, yourself. True wealth is sustainable wealth. It's not enough to achieve wealth without having built the capacity to sustain it. Investing in yourself and acquiring knowledge or skills is the most important investment you can make for your financial future. This means investing in your education to increase your knowledge base and update your skills. As you invest in tangible assets, businesses, etc., or even as you invest your time at your workplace, the most important investment should be in yourself. In today's volatile world, you can lose your investments in these vehicles as the economy moves. At the same time, you can lose your marketability, employability, or your competitive edge as your skills become outdated and obsolete. The key is to update and diversify your skills. Do not just learn or know one thing the same way. Learn how to do things differently and also learn how to do different things. Whatever it is you do, investing in your knowledge and skills ensures that no matter what direction the economy moves, you'll have the capacity to sustain your wealth. This is done through diversification of your knowledge and skills. Let's assume that you own a real estate business. How much do you know about real estate? What about when the looming market crash happens? Do you crash with it? Smart wealth builders invest in diversifying their skills and knowledge so that when one opportunity crashes, they can easily apply their skills and knowledge into other profitable opportunities. They never crash with the economy, and you shouldn't either. That's the key. To achieve sustainable financial success, don't make the mistake of investing only in diversifying your portfolio of other assets that you can possibly lose. Your knowledge, skills, and experience remain with you even when you've lost everything. You are your most important source of wealth.
So the next thing after you have, developed your self-education and you've, invested in yourself and through self-education and you've, kind of done the work on that end, next thing you should do is evaluate your situation and the situation that you're currently in. When I say your situation, I'm talking primarily about your financial situation. Is your credit right? Do you have a bunch of bad debt that you need to pay off? What's your credit score like? You got to make sure that your personal financial house is in order so that you can, be in a position to take advantage of the things that come along with having, good credit and you're having your finances in order and having, money for reserves. Because one thing I tell you is, it could be the greatest deal right sitting in front of you, but if you don't have, your personal finances in order, then it don't mean nothing for you because you can't really take advantage of it. Because I know for me, if if someone came to me and asked me for money and I said, all right, bet, let me run your credit, and then I pull up their credit and I see that they got a 530 FICO score with a 52% payment history, I'm gonna be like, bro, for real, you need to put these clown shoes on because that's how you act right now. So just know, bro, you can't. Nobody's giving you money if you don't have your own money in order. Make sure you're working on your credit. If you want to know credit, we did an episode on credit, episode 7, how to build or improve your credit. So go check that out. It definitely tells you about all the biggest factors that affect your credit score and all that kind of stuff. Another thing to look at whenever you're evaluating your situation is what do you have to offer? So how can you add value to people is essentially what I'm saying, right? The thing about real estate is there's really you only need 3 things in real estate in terms of things that are gonna help you add value to someone or help you run a successful business. You only need 3 things: hustle/knowledge, time, and money. You don't need all 3 of them. You only need to have 2 of the 3. For example, if you have, and we're going to talk about this more when we start talking about financing and creative financing and ways to finance deals. But the thing in real estate, if you have, hustle and knowledge, you don't need to necessarily have money or if you have hustle, knowledge, and time, that's what I meant, because hustle and knowledge are pretty much the same thing. But when I say hustle, I'm talking about like, the ability to grind it out and stick to something. But when I talk about knowledge, I'm talking about like the education part, and money is money. So, and time is, time. Are you obligated to other things because of your schedule? So that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say hustle, knowledge, time, or money. And the reason I say 2 out of 3 is because if you have, hustle and time and knowledge, then you can partner up with someone that has the money, but not the time or the hustle. There's plenty of people out there that have money and want to invest, but don't necessarily want to put the work in to learn how, or don't have the time to learn how. So you can always partner up with those kind of people. And they're out there, but you have to show that you can add value to them through you having the knowledge, number one, and having the time and the hustle. So, and it goes the other way too. If you have the money, vice versa. Maybe you have the money, but you don't have, the time or the hustle. Then you can partner up with someone that has that, right? So it's just, it works both ways. You just need to figure out how you can add value to someone, and that's essentially what that is.
I know that's like an insider for us to add value. Yeah. So, but you do want to be able to add value to other people. Like, so if you had, like Alex said, if you have the knowledge, you have the hustle, have the time, you may be able to partner with somebody who has money, and vice versa. You might have money, you give it to somebody who has hustle and time, like us. Yeah. But it just works both ways, like he said. But that all goes under the column of evaluating your situation. But after that, you also need to identify your desire. You need to figure out what's going to drive you through the thick and thin, through obstacles that you may face along the journey. What's going to be your reason that you're doing this? Like, basically, people always refer to this as what's your why. So you need something that's going to really fuel you, something that's going to be able to push you through all the tough times that you will experience when you're doing any type of investing or taking on any new endeavor for that matter. Because at some point, it's going to get difficult. It's never always going to be just peaches and cream, rainbows, unicorns, whatever you want to call it. Because I'm sure me and Alex can tell you, from our personal experience, real estate investing hasn't been just this beautiful thing that's always been easy. We have rough patches ourselves, even being in this for like just a year and a half, where we can't find a deal, where a deal falls through, where you might have unforeseen expenses come up. So you need to have something that's going to drive you through that and be like, okay, let me remember what I really wanted from real estate investing in the first place, that you can fall back on when those points come in. So whether it be like traveling, whether you want like a big house, you want cars, generational wealth, identify something that's going to allow you to fall back on when you have those rough times.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything. If you're motivated by money, good. If you're motivated by cars or big houses or whatever, good. If it's big enough to you, then it's big enough to you. You just have to know what that is. And I'm glad Marlon kind of brought that up, because I think real estate investing is kind of like an iceberg, honestly. Because, you see an iceberg. Icebergs are a lot bigger than they appear. You have the surface level of the water, and you have the, what's above the surface level, which that's the visible part of it. But you have beneath the water, there's a lot bigger part of the iceberg. So what you see is you see all the accomplishments, and you see all, the money, and you see people being successful. You see all that kind of stuff in real estate investing. That's very much out there. I mean, just go to Instagram and you can see all that kind of stuff from everyone. You see, people posting their deals and how much money they're making and all that kind of stuff. That's all out there to see. But what you don't see is you don't see the rejections. You don't see the hustle. You don't see how many times they offered on property. You don't see how many, contractors they went through. You don't see how much money they've lost. You don't see all that kind of stuff. You don't see all that stuff that's gonna, deter people. You might see real estate investing as something that, a lot of people just hop into, but a lot of people quit really quick. A lot more people quit faster than they get into it, just because it's a lot harder once you actually start getting into it. So you just have to have a why that's big enough, or something that's going to keep you motivated. And honestly, I think for me, in my opinion, I think it should be synonymous with what you think is your life's purpose, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. So yeah, just have that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I just give an example of like my desires so that people can have something that they can baseline off of. So like for me, I've always talked about from I don't know how long I've been talking about this, probably since junior high. I want a Chevy Corvette. I've been talking about that for probably 10 plus years, and that's one thing I know I will have at some point in my life. So that's one thing I'm always thinking about when I'm saying, okay, I'm tired of somebody give up. No, I want to be able to get that as fast as possible. I don't want to be one of those 60-year-olds driving the Chevy Corvette. I want to be 30 driving the Corvette. So I need to be able to do something that's going to supercharge me forward in order to get to that point. Yeah. Also, I want like a 4,000 square foot house. Reason being because my girlfriend likes a lot of stuff. She needs a shoe closet. She needs a theater, a lot of little extra stuff. So we need a lot of space, and she likes a lot of land. So I need to be on a half acre, little things like that. But like more so, it's even more important to have those life desires. So what do I want is like time freedom. I value my time so much. I want to be able to, especially when it comes to like my family, I want to be able to attend my kids' events when I have them. I want to be able to attend. I don't want to miss anything. Just like how my parents did, where they never miss any of my games. I want to be the same way for my kids because I know how important that was for me as far as how I view them as I was growing up. Like you idolize your parents when they always can be there for you. So I want to be able to reciprocate that to my kids. And lastly, I want to be able to give back as far as to my kids and to places where I came from. So whether it be Detroit, where people look like me growing up and they don't have anybody that's like they can idolize or look up to, I want to be able to give back to them and show them that there is a way out. You don't have to just be a drug dealer. You don't have to sell weed. You don't have to be a basketball player, football player, or a rapper in order to be successful.
Like Marlon was saying, he knows like, oh, these are the things that he wants. So he's not looking at it as, oh, I can't have these things because, it's just not my destiny, or I wasn't meant to be rich, or that kind of thing. He's looking at it as, how can I get these things? So he's switched his mindset when it comes to like those kind of. So that's what you have to do. You have to switch your mindset from a I can't to a how can I. You have to be able to challenge your own conventional thinking by, thinking instead of just acquiescing and saying that you can't get something. So switch that mindset. It's crazy because you'll seek and you'll find solutions when you actually do, where you'll seek and find solutions where you thought there weren't any. Once you've determined what you want out of life and you know what those desires are and those kind of things, and you know what your why is, you have to make a plan. And when I say a plan, I'm not talking about a business plan. A business plan is important, but I'm not really talking about that right now. That's more important later on. Right now, I'm talking about just a declaration, kind of what you want to achieve. Because you have to know that I think it's important to start from the end and look at it from that perspective rather than just start from the beginning. Because a lot of the stuff that you're going to do is going to be dependent on the end and how you want it to look at the end. So it's important to make a plan and base it off of the end, and plans are really important. Any plan in anything, just because I believe that, and it's cliche to kind of to say, but a failure to plan is a plan to fail. I seriously believe that. So you have to be able to sit here and answer some questions that are going to help you make this plan. Some of the questions I think that are important to know or important to answer are, what is your end goal, right? What kind of strategy do you want to use? These are the questions that you need to, be answering and thinking of to be able to develop this plan. So like I said, you got to make it with the end in mind. You can't really create the steps if you don't know where they're leading, right? I can't say, hey, I'm going to go buy this type of property if I don't know why I'm buying this type of property. You have to know why and I'm not talking about the why as before. I'm talking about in terms of like, your real estate goals and that kind of stuff. You have to know where you're going before you can kind of make the plan.
I think that, making a plan, even as a step before that, you can just like set milestone goals for yourself. So, like Alex said, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And I do firmly believe in that because people always have dreams and aspirations in life, but if they never plan to achieve them or never make steps to get to those, they just remain as dreams. So I don't want my dreams of having a Corvette or having this big house to just be in my imagination. I want to make that a reality. So it's important to put a plan into place in order to obtain it instead of just hoping that it happens. And so, like, people always ask, where do you want to be in 10 years? So when I heard that again last year. I hear it all the time, but when I heard it last year, I really thought about it. I said, okay, people always ask this, but who actually puts a plan into place and be like, okay, I want to be here in 10 years, and I'm going to actually put a plan into place in order to be there in 10 years. So for me, my plan in 10 years is, well, from 10 years from when I heard it, I was 22. Now I want to be financially free by 32. I want to have $8,000 in passive income. And the reason I picked 8,000 because that would double what I was making as a work income per month. I want to be able to double that. That way I can supplement my lifestyle and be able to live comfortably. And roughly that's about 6 figures. So that's just an example of having a goal and then of where you want to be in 10 years. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the action steps we plan on taking to get there.
Yeah. So Marlon's talking about goals. I think you have to be able to identify those goals because the goals that you have are going to determine your strategy. Like I said, you got to work backwards. So I think this is a good time to mention the 4 wealth builders in real estate, just because these kind of wealth generators are going to help determine how you invest in real estate. The 4 wealth generators of real estate are, number 1, cash flow. So we talked about cash flow before. It's just pretty much the net income after you pay all the expenses. So you get your income minus your expenses. What's left is your cash flow, right? So, in real estate, one of the rules is you never buy properties that don't cash flow. The second generator is equity buildup / loan pay down. This is pretty much, you build up equity in the house, and as you do, the loan gets paid down, right? So your tenants in real estate, when you're real estate investing, your tenants are paying down your loan, and as a result, you're building equity in the property. So that's a great tool because you can work minimum wage job forever, and you can still retire as a millionaire because you've built up so much equity just by your tenants paying down that property. The next wealth generator is the tax benefits you get in real estate. So the thing about real estate is the U.S. government rewards real estate investors because they provide housing for people. So a lot of real estate investors pay far less taxes than most people, even though they earn a lot more money than most people because there's just so many tax benefits towards real estate. And honestly, that's one of the reasons people hate Donald Trump. But that's another topic for another day. The fourth wealth generator is appreciation. Appreciation is, to me, in my opinion, the true wealth creator. There's natural and there's forced appreciation. Natural appreciation is just market appreciation. We talked about it before, I think. But as the market increases and goes up in value, your home appreciates. Properties are appreciating, go up in value. And then there's forced appreciation, right? When you rehab a house, you increase its value. You're forcing the appreciation on it. So the reason I mention these 4 things is because you have to be able to identify what your goal is, and these 4 things are going to kind of help you determine that. So if your goal is you ask yourself, if your goal is financial freedom or passive income, then cash flow is the primary metric that you're aiming for, right? But if your goal is to increase your net worth and your wealth, then it's a lot harder to get there through just cash flow. So now you're looking for equity and appreciation and those tax benefits too. So for me personally, my goal is to gain passive income and increase my net worth. That's why my strategy right now is to flip houses to gain capital so that I can use that capital to purchase large multifamily apartment buildings. So essentially what I want to do is convert the equity in single family homes to capital gains so that I can acquire 10, 30, 50, 100, 1,000 unit apartment buildings. And right now, at this stage in my investing career, I kind of just look at cash flow as more of a defensive metric rather than an offensive metric. And when I say that, I mean I'm not really aiming to get cash flow right now because that's my goal. That doesn't fit with my goal, right? My goal is not to cash flow right now. It is in the future, but right now. So now the way I kind of look at cash flow is if I'm, buying a crib and I see that then I see it as a great deal already, because my objective is to force appreciate properties and create that equity and appreciation, and thus creating wealth for me in the form of capital gains. So those capital gains, I'm now, taking those capital gains and I'm using them to purchase apartment buildings. That cash flow is going to give me financial freedom by age 28. So now I have reached my goal. My goal was to be financially free by 28. And the way I'm going to do that is by creating capital by flipping single family houses, using that capital to buy apartment buildings that are going to give me financial freedom, right? So I worked backwards from my goal. My goal, I kind of just mentioned it, but my goal was to be financially free by 28, and I worked backwards from that. How can I get there based off of that goal and the situation that I'm in right now? And that's what I needed to do. I needed to flip houses and then use that money to buy apartment buildings. What I'm working on right now.
That was a good breakdown at the very end, because I do want people to understand that goals do change over time. So what I'm doing right now may not be what I want to be doing at the very end, but it's the necessary step in order to get to that end piece. Yeah. So for like both of us, we don't have the capital, we don't have the money that we want to have in our bank accounts currently in order to be putting like down payments on different apartment buildings. We need to have this capital. So right now we are primarily focusing on flipping, which will generate us large chunks of money as opposed to trying to get a rental property to cash flow like a couple $100s a month or something like that. Those couple $100s won't add up fast enough for us to be able to really scale quickly. So like our immediate goals are to really just like he said, to purchase these flip properties that we can build capital off of and then transfer into rental properties later. So like for me, my 10-year goal is going to be to have these rental properties that are going to be able to cash flow that $8,000 I talked about, or $8,000 a month that I talked about earlier. And with that, so it's nothing but steps. Like I have an end goal, and then these are the goals that I have in between to get there. So that's my 10-year plan. My 10-year goal is the cash flow. After that, I want to use the time freedom that these rental properties allow me to have, because I'm cash flowing so much now. I would use that time freedom piece in order to start building wealth through assets that appreciate. So instead, I want to be able to move that cash flow and money, because I'm having the time freedom now. I want to be able to utilize my money in order to build in order to have appreciation in my assets.
That's how we're both doing it. We're working backwards. You can't sit here and say, well, yeah, I'm just gonna invest in. I'm gonna go to this house and go get a rental property and then do this and then I'll be financially free. Well, how do you know that? Because number one, you don't know the things you need to do to get there, because you're working on the now. So as your goal could change, and now you're doing something that doesn't align with your goal. So that's why you have to work based off of your goal. And I think one thing to mention with this, as we close this episode out, is to know that your goals are going to ultimately determine the type of property that you will invest in. So whatever you choose, you need to, kind of focus on that in the beginning, because that's going to, that's aligned with what your goal is. We're going to talk about that more so in next episode when we start talking about, the property types and the different property types. We'll talk about that more specifically next episode. That's kind of how, we wanted to close this one out. But yeah, know that your goals are going to determine the type of property that you're going to invest in. My goal says I need to be financially free by 28. Well, if I need financial freedom, I need apartment, units. Well, if I want apartment units, I need to be able to buy an apartment. Well, if I want to buy an apartment, I need to be able to fund that apartment. Mm-hmm. Well, how am I going to fund the apartment? Well, I need lump sums of money. I need a lot of cash. Well, how can I get a lot of cash? Well, I can flip houses right now with the cash I do have. So that's kind of how you should be working backwards, looking at it, right?
Great way to break it down right there. And that's perfect.
Yes, sir. But at this point, I think you should be able to, after this episode, you could honestly sit down and, take a moment and figure out what your goal is. Figure out what your why is. If you really want to get started in real estate investing, figure out what your why is. Figure out why you want to do this and find a strong why. Don't just get a, surface level why.
Many people go through life aimlessly. as if they're on a journey without a roadmap to help them navigate. In fact, without setting goals, there's no clear destination. When we do make the effort to set goals, we're forced to contemplate the things we want to achieve and how we plan to achieve them. One of the advantages of goal setting is that it makes us decide what kind of life we want to live rather than just leaving it to chance. And that's just in regards to life. In business, and specifically real estate, I can guarantee you, if you don't set goals for your business, you will not succeed. You could take that to the bank. And I'm not talking about just saying, I want to make $1 million per year. That's not a good enough goal. That's a wish. A true goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. That looks different for everyone. But the important question is, how does that look for you? I set a goal in 2018 that by age 28, I'll make at least $10,000 per month in passive income by acquiring enough rental units that cash flow me at least $200 per month per unit. And additionally, I'll achieve a net worth of $1 million through syndicating apartment buildings. Now, through first investing in myself and learning what a practical goal for me looks like, I was able to achieve a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-sensitive long-term goal such as that. Once I developed that goal, I knew now all I have to do is work backwards to create the roadmap of intermediate goals to get there. I'll break down my roadmap so you can see exactly what I mean. Now, working backwards is the key here. This allows me to analyze each of the major wealth generators in real estate and tailor each one to a specific stage of my investing career. Now, as I said, my ultimate goal is to cash flow so that I can be financially free by age 28. So I know that in order to do that, I need to have a heavy cash position in a few years to use for down payments on apartment complexes. All right, bet. So that means I need to earn capital. Okay, so a few of my options are: 1, saving money from my day job until I have enough capital. But I said age 28, not 68, so that ain't it. 2, raise capital from private investors to begin syndicating and get into apartment complexes now. But I don't really think I have enough credibility just yet, so nah. Or 3, use my earned income now to purchase properties that I can force appreciate and convert the equity into cash, otherwise known as flipping. That's the most practical option for me right now. Okay, so that gives me a short-term goal. Flip at least 3 to 5 houses this year for at least a $20,000 profit on each. Then grow exponentially from that every year until I have enough capital to buy apartment complexes. This is where I'm at right now. This is how smart goal setting looks. Once you have your goals set in place, you can continue to break them down further and work backwards from smaller goals to determine immediate action items in order to achieve those goals. And remember, it's okay for your goals to change. They aren't set in stone. Actually, I believe it's good to continue to analyze your goals and reshift if necessary. That keeps you motivated and allows your goals to stay within an attainable reach.
All right, well, this episode is wrapping up, but before we go, we want to end up with the Q&A that we try to do every week. So if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, you can contact us on Twitter at the Monopolizers or on IG at Money Monopolizers. And we have one question this week is for Alex. You can go ahead and read it.
So we had a question this week. Shout out to her. She asked, this is her second time, appearing on the show. She know who she is, but she said, can y'all explain property taxes in an episode? So we're definitely going to talk about this more in another episode, but I kind of just want to, give a brief explanation of what property taxes are, how they work, especially here in Texas, just, to answer the question. But property taxes are essentially the taxes you pay to live in a county or to own property in a county. Every property that you see is paying taxes. If it's land, whatever it is, they're paying taxes on it. And each county has a tax rate that determines the percentage of taxes you'll pay. In Texas, usually the tax rate is above I haven't seen it anywhere below 2.5%. Here in San Antonio, Bexar County is 2.68% on taxes on that's the tax, but the county assessor assesses a 2.68% tax rate on all properties. So that's usually significantly higher than other states. And the reason is the primary reason for this is because here in Texas, we have what's called independent school districts. and independent school districts are funded primarily through property taxes, as opposed to other places where, you know, it's funded by like the government primarily, but here it's pretty much funded mainly by the citizens. So here, what you do essentially is you have what's called a budget mortgage. This is really, I don't know really anywhere where you don't do this, but what you do is you pay your taxes into an escrow account. So a budget mortgage is just you're budgeting for the mortgage and for the taxes and the insurance that you're going to pay at the end of the year. And you just pay into it every month when you pay your mortgage. So we talked about PITI. The taxes and insurance part go into escrow. Escrow is just a third party account or a third party that holds funds in an account for you. So you pay your taxes into an escrow account every month when you pay your mortgage, and then the mortgager pays the taxes at the end or sometime in the year whenever they're due to the county. So that's just a, you know, simple rundown of how property taxes work. We'll get into it more, like I said, in another episode when we start talking more real estate stuff, which we will be here probably in the next few weeks. You know, definitely yes, how that works. But that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers Podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube on Friday. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to the podcast. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at Money Monopolizers or on IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers Podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.